Welcome to our channel. This video is part of a series based on the CITB book called Health, Safety and Environment Test for Operatives and Specialists. We guarantee that watching these videos is all you need to do to prepare for your final test. In each video, we will briefly cover a section's key points and then ask questions directly from the CITB book. This video focuses on Section C Safety, covering the following topics: safety signs, fire prevention and control, electrical safety, tools and equipment. To make it easy to move through the video series, you will find a link in the top right corner. The actual CSCS test usually takes about 45 minutes, and you need to answer at least 45 out of 50 questions correctly to pass. Before we dive in, please support us by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. We appreciate it. Let us learn together.
Prohibition signs must not do red and white. No access for pedestrians. No admittance, authorized personnel only. No mobile phones. No naked flames. No smoking. Not drinkable. Do not touch. Mandatory signs must do blue and white. Safety gloves must be worn. Safety boots or shoes must be worn. Safety harness must be worn. Safety helmet must be worn. Protective eyewear must be worn. Hearing protection must be worn. General mandatory sign. Warning signs: yellow and black. Slippery surface, toxic material, trip hazard, combustible or flammable material, corrosive material, high voltage, industrial vehicles operating, radioactive material or ionizing radiation, explosive material, general warning sign, overhead load. Safe condition, green and white, emergency assembly point, emergency escape route, emergency eye wash, emergency shower, first aid. Firefighting signs: fire emergency telephone, fire extinguisher, firefighting equipment, fire hose reel. Fire ladder, fire alarm call point. Globally harmonized pictograms are used to help identify hazardous substances, hazardous to the environment and aquatic life, oxidizing gases, liquids and solids, damage to organs. Heating may cause an explosion, corrosive, flammable gases, harmful, skin, eye or respiratory irritation, contains gases under pressure, toxic. Which image shows the worker correctly following these site safety signs?
Which three of the following should be labelled with this sign? Asbestos waste. Raw asbestos. Any product containing asbestos. Plasterboard waste. Recyclable waste.
How should a container or any residue be disposed of if it has this sign on the label or packaging? Put it in any type of skip or bin. Leave it somewhere for other people to deal with. If it is a liquid and less than 1 litre, you can pour it down a drain. Follow specific instructions on the label and in the work instructions. Emergency procedures should be in place before any work begins, explained in the site induction, and not changed without notice. Everyone on site should be aware of the emergency procedures, as these help to control dangerous situations. Emergency escape routes should be kept clear and unobstructed at all times. A fire assembly point is where people must go when the fire alarm sounds. Hot work permits authorise tasks to be carried out safely, under strictly controlled conditions. Hot work permits allow workers to carry out work that could start a fire, such as cutting steel with an angle grinder or soldering pipework in a central heating system. Liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is colourless, has a distinctive smell and is highly flammable. A leaking LPG cylinder can catch fire at some distance from the original leak and flash back to the source. If a cylinder of LPG is leaking, turn the supply off immediately if it is safe to do so. Fuel should always be dispensed using the correct nozzle and stored in the designated fuel store when not being used. Refuelling should only be carried out by authorised people, when the equipment is turned off and cooled down for safety.
What are two common fire risks on construction sites? 230-volt power tools, poor housekeeping and build-up of waste, timber racks, uncontrolled hot works, 110-volt extension reels.
In addition to heat, what are the other two factors that must be present to start a fire? Nitrogen, carbon dioxide, argon, oxygen, fuel. What must be checked before working in a corridor that is a fire escape route? If the tools being used are spark-proof. If the doors into the corridor are locked. That any tools and equipment do not block the route. That fire escape signs are removed before the work starts. If you discover a fire, what is the first thing that you should do? Raise the alarm. Put your tools away. Try to put out the fire. Finish what you are doing.
A large fire has been reported. You have not been trained to use fire extinguishers. What should you do? Put away all your tools and then go to the assembly point. Report to the site office and then go home. Go straight to the assembly point. Leave work for the day.
Which emergency procedures should be explained in the site induction? Give 3 answers. How to raise the alarm in case of an emergency. Where to go if the fire alarm is activated. Where to go to leave valuables in an emergency. What to do if someone is injured on site. How to avoid leaving site in case it's a false alarm. If a fire occurs, how should you interact with the designated fire warden? Follow the instructions given by the fire warden. Ignore the fire warden and follow your colleagues. Follow the site manager as they will know their way around the site. Ignore the fire warden and the site manager. What additional rules might a person working alone be asked to follow? Carry 2 sets of personal protective equipment, PPE. Complete an additional timesheet. Never speak to the general public. Make regular radio or mobile phone contact. If your job needs a hot work permit, what 2 things would you expect to have to do? Write a site evacuation plan. Know how to refill fire extinguishers. Check for signs of fire when you stop work. Have a fire extinguisher close to the work. Know where all the fire extinguishers are kept on site. You are about to start a job. How will you know if you need a permit to work? The Health and Safety Executive, HSE, will give them out. Permits to work are only required by managers on large sites. Information will be given during the site induction before any work starts. Other workers on site will pass them on after they have finished with them. What does it mean if there is frost around the valve on a liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, cylinder? The cylinder is full. The valve is leaking. The cylinder is nearly empty. You must lay the cylinder on its side.
Which 2 extinguishers should not be used on electrical fires? Dry powder, blue colour band. Foam, cream colour band. Water, red colour band. Carbon dioxide, black colour band.
Match the fire extinguisher with the described contents. Water for use on wood, paper, textile and solid material fires. Powder for use on liquid and electrical fires. Foam for use on liquid fires. Carbon dioxide, CO2, for use on liquid and electrical fires. What is the primary purpose of fire extinguishers? To tackle small fires to prevent them becoming larger. To be available and ready for when the fire services arrive. To make sure the premises pass a safety inspection. To add decoration to the walls of the construction site. A worker needs to use a flammable liquid. How much should be taken from the store? Enough to carry out the immediate activity. No more than the manual handling rules allow. Enough to last a month, but inform the site manager. Enough to last a week to save time going to the store. You see a driver refueling an excavator, but most of the diesel is spilling onto the ground. What is the first thing that you should do? Tell the driver immediately and locate the spill kit. Tell your supervisor the next time that you see them. Look around for a spill kit and then tell your supervisor. Do nothing. The diesel will eventually seep into the ground. A worker spills a large quantity of petrol on their clothes when refueling a piece of equipment. What should they do? Put some other clothes on top. Change their clothes immediately. Nothing. It will evaporate quickly. Wipe it off with a cloth. A worker spills a large quantity of petrol when refueling a dumper. What should they do? Stop, notify, contain. Stop, contain, notify. Contain, stop, notify. Notify, contain, stop. Workers must be trained and competent before operating power tools. Cartridge-operated tools operate like a gun and can be dangerous in inexperienced hands. The main function of guards on cutting and grinding machines is to stop fragments flying into the air and to prevent the operator coming into contact with the blade or wheel. The recommended maximum voltage for construction sites is 110 volt with a yellow connector. Residual current devices, RCDs, should be fitted between the plug of a 230 volt tool and the supply socket. RCDs work by cutting the power quickly if there is a fault, and should be mechanical, trip tested before each use. You need to work near an electric cable, but the cable has bare wires. What should you do? Quickly touch the cable to see if it is live. Tell your supervisor and keep well away from the cable. Push the cable out of the way so that you can start work. Check there are no sparks coming from the cable and then start work. You are using a generator to power some lighting when a lamp blows. You have a spare lamp. What should you do? Carry on working in the dark. Replace the lamp without disconnecting the generator. Wait for a fully qualified electrician with a NIC/EIC card. Disconnect the lighting from the generator before replacing the lamp. What are the two main visual inspections you should carry out before using a power tool? Make sure the carry case isn't broken. Check it is marked with a security stamp. Make sure the manufacturer's label hasn't come off. Check the power lead, plug and casing are in good condition. Check switches, triggers, and make sure the guards are adjusted and work correctly. What is best practice when using a power tool with a rotating blade? Adjust the guard to expose the maximum amount of blade. Remove the guard so that you can clearly see the blade. Remove the guard, but wear leather gloves to protect your hands. Adjust the guard to expose just enough blade to let you do the job. What should be done before adjusting an electric hand tool? Switch it off, but leave the plug in the socket. Put tape over the power switch before adjusting. Switch it off and remove the plug from the socket. You should never adjust an electric hand tool yourself.
You have been asked to use a hand tool or power tool on site. You know that it is the right tool for the job. What else must you check? That it was made in the UK. That it is inspected at the start of each week. That it was bought from a builder's merchant. That it is inspected before you use it.
Why is it considered poor practice to store batteries loose in a tool bag? You might forget to charge them. If the terminals short out, they could cause a fire. They give off a poisonous gas in a confined space. The tool bag will be heavy and could damage your back. When is it safe to work close to an overhead power line? If the power is switched off. If you use a wooden ladder for access. If it is not raining whilst you are working. If you do not touch the line for more than 30 seconds. What should you do if the guard is missing from a power tool? Try to make another guard. Use the tool, but try to work quickly. Use the tool, but work carefully and slowly. Do not use the tool until a proper guard has been fitted.
What should you do if the electrical equipment you are using cuts out? Shake it to see if it will start again. Pull the electric cable to see if it is loose. Switch the power off and on a few times. Switch off the power and look for signs of damage.
Why should a residual current device, RCD, be used with 230-volt tools? It saves energy and lowers costs. It lowers the voltage automatically. It makes the tool run at a safe speed. It quickly cuts off the power if there is a fault. Which method is used to check if a residual current device, RCD, connected to a power tool is working? Switch the tool on and off. Press the test button on the RCD. Use a handheld RCD test meter. Run the tool at top speed to see if it cuts out. You need to use a 230-volt item of equipment. How should you protect yourself from an electric shock? Wear rubber boots and gloves. Put up safety screens around you. Use a generator which has been serviced. Use a portable residual current device, RCD. Why are battery-powered tools preferred over 110-volt tools in a construction environment? They are cheaper to run. They are quieter. They are more powerful. They are safer. What is the main advantage of using battery-powered tools rather than electrical ones? They are cheaper to run. They will not give you hand-arm vibration. They do not need to be tested or serviced. They will not give you a serious electric shock. Why do building sites use a 110-volt electricity supply instead of a 230-volt supply? It is cheaper. It is less likely to kill you. It is safer for the environment. It moves faster along the cables.
What 2 things should you do to reduce trips and injuries caused by untidy leads and extension cables? Run cables and leads above head height and over the top of doorways and walkways. Tie any excess cables and leads up into the smallest coil possible. Keep trailing cables and leads close to the wall. Make sure your cables have not been used before. Only use thinner 230-volt extension cables. What 2 things should you do if you need to run an electrical cable across an area used by vehicles? Wrap the cable in yellow tape so that drivers can see it. Cover the cable with a protective ramp. Cover the cable with scaffold boards. Put up a sign that says ramp ahead. Run the cable at head height.
What 2 things should you do if you need to use an extension cable? Uncoil the whole cable. Clean the cable with a damp cloth. Only uncoil the length of cable you need. Check the whole cable and connectors for damage. Only check the part of the cable you need for damage.
What is the best way to protect an extension cable and also reduce trip hazards? Run the cable above head height. Run the cable by the shortest route. Cover the cable with yellow tape. Cover the cable with pieces of wood.
What should you do if an extension cable has a cut in its outer cover? Put a bigger fuse in the cable plug. Put electrical tape around the damaged part. Report the fault and make sure that no one else uses the cable. Check the copper wires aren't showing in the cut and then use the cable. Apart from dust, vibration, noise and flying fragments, identify another significant hazard in this image. What should you do if the head on your hammer becomes loose? Stop work and get the hammer repaired or replaced. Find another heavy tool to use instead of the hammer. Tell the other people near you to keep out of the way. Keep using it, but be aware that the head could come off at any time.
Which item of equipment would not require portable appliance testing? PAT. 110-volt transformer. Hammer and bolster. 110-volt extension lead. Plug-in breaker.
Do simple hand tools like trowels, screwdrivers, saws and hammers need to be inspected? No, it is not necessary to check such tools. Only if someone else has borrowed the tools. Yes, the tools should be checked each time they are used. Only if the tools have not been used for a few weeks. What is the main danger when using a chisel or bolster with a mushroomed head? It will shatter and send fragments flying into the air. You are more likely to hit your hand with the chisel head. The hammer could slip off the head of the bolster or chisel. The shaft of the chisel will bend, putting a strain on your wrist.
When do you need to check tools and equipment for damage? Each time before use? Every day? Once a week? At least once a year?
If a power tool has a portable appliance testing PAT label on it, what information should be included on the label? When the tool was made. When the tool was last tested. The tool's earth loop impedance. Who tested the tool before it left the factory? Which item of equipment would not require portable appliance testing, PAT? 110-volt transformer. Battery-powered rechargeable drill. 110-volt extension lead. Plug-in portable halogen light. You have been asked to dig to expose power cables. You have been given a cable avoidance tool, CAT, to detect them. But you haven't been shown how to use it. What should you do? Read the manual before you start work. Ask a colleague to show you how to use it. Tell your supervisor that you haven't been trained. Dig the hole without using the cable avoidance tool. You need to use an air-powered tool. What 3 hazards are likely to affect you? Radiation. Being struck by a poorly secured hose. An electric shock. hand-arm vibration, airborne dust and flying fragments.
If someone near you is using a petrol cut-off saw, disc cutter to cut concrete blocks, what 3 immediate hazards are likely to affect you? Flying fragments, contact dermatitis, harmful dust in the air, high noise levels, vibration white finger. What does it mean if the equipment you are using is issued with a prohibition notice? You must not use it unless your supervisor is present. You must not use it until it is made safe. You can use it as long as you take more care. Only supervisors can use it until further notice.
Which 2 of the following statements about power tools are true? You should always carry the tool by its cord. A power tool should be unplugged by pulling its cord. You must be trained and competent to use any power tool. You should always unplug the tool when you are not using it. Power tools should always be left plugged in when you check or adjust them.
Why is it dangerous to run an abrasive wheel faster than its recommended maximum speed? The wheel will get clogged and stop. The motor could burst into flames. The wheel could shatter into many pieces. The safety guard cannot be used.
Congratulations! You are a step closer to success. Keep learning until you reach your goal. You can find a link in the top right corner to go to the next video.